You have announced officially you are a candidate for sheriff of Tangipahoa Parish.
That's correct. Yeah. And so, when I retired June of 21 from Mandeville Police Department, I moved back home to Tangipahoa Parish, and almost immediately, people that know me, family, friends, other professionals, and in the parish and in the different communities around Tangipahoa, I'd run across them, and it's like, Gerald, you're too young to retire, man. What you gonna do? And you should run for sheriff here. You got so much to offer, and we know how you ran the department, and previously, and I shut them down. I was like, no, I'm good. Thank you, no, thank you, man. I got 3 little grandsons, and I wanted to try to polish up on the golf game, and and just get my feet back under me. And I was 100% sincerely. I thought I was done with law enforcement, especially. There was going to be other opportunities, but I really wasn't law enforcement focused at all. I felt God closing that door at Mandeville, and I didn't know why. Everything was going great. Man had a good runs, making good money. The city was hitting on all cylinders, and but I just felt an emptiness, for lack of better words, and so I just felt God closing that door, and so I retired without a plan B necessarily, but God almost immediately started putting conversations in front of me, and I was like, no, 100 times no, and just because of just the grind of politics, and I said previously I was an appointed chief, not elected, and just the thought of having to, politic and run for office and pound your chest about, I was in the Marines and I did this. I was chief of police and, an FBI Academy graduate and all. That just grinded on me. And then having to, raise money and just all the necessary evils that go along with campaigning. I did not. No, it was not anything that I wanted to do any way, shape, or form, but I felt with every conversation, God nudging me, and I was like, come on, God, anything but this, But he's like, this is what I built you for, and this is what I prepared you for. And so it took, a little over 10 months of just different people that didn't know one another having the same conversation with me, that I didn't start any of them. And because I was wanting to talk about golf and I was wanting to talk about anything but, law enforcement. I loved it, and I missed the clowns, but I didn't miss the circus, if you know what I mean.
Sure.
And, but finally, I'm a little slow at times, but finally I was like, all right, God, this is what you want me to do. I'm going to do it to whatever end it meets. And so, yeah, I moved back home, and I see things going on in my home parish, and I made the observation that Tangipahoa is not that different from its neighbor in St. Tammany Parish. Where St. Tammany was years ago, and just the influx of people moving in, the native population growing, and then you got the influx of people from all over. Katrina boosted that a lot, obviously, and with every storm, you see another wave of people moving, and as crimes of violence increase in the bigger cities around us, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, all the big metropolitan areas, you see that constant. It's growing, and so, St. Tammany's full. It's full. It's busting at the seams, and the traffic, the infrastructure is behind, and so we see. The BDCO that I grew up in, man, it was nothing like it is today. From BDCO, from the parish line at BDCO all the way through Ponchatoula, it's just one.
It's Mandeville West.
It's just one constant string of subdivision, one subdivision after another, and so it's growing. The industry's growing, so the parish is like growing. It's busting at the seams, and there's a void in the law enforcement perspective, that I feel that, I can take that sheriff's office to the next level. I've lived it in St. Tammany. I started with Mandeville '92. Before there was a big Lakeview Regional Hospital, or before the big subdivisions popped up in Mandeville, and so I live and I grew up in a department that grew with its with that community coming up, and so I feel like it's almost a deja vu moment right here in Tangipahoa, and they're well on their way to explode. Man, the industry over there around the airport, the industrial park. You have Medline, to name one, but there's tons of worldwide companies, industries that are either have hubs in Tangipahoa or that are headquartered in Tangipahoa Parish. And of course, you have the agricultural aspect. My grandfather, which I never knew, he passed away when my dad was 2, unexpectedly. He was a strawberry farmer, and between Betico and Ponchatoula. My family goes back a long way. My mom's from actually Covington. My dad's from Ponchatoula. Probably the 1700s was the earliest I've tracked my lineage on my dad's side back. There's actually a grave marker in Madisonville Cemetery from the War of 1812. There's a Lawrence sticker buried there. And so, my roots run deep right at the parish line. And, St. Tammany and Tangi are very interconnected. And so, I'm glad to be back home. I love, my community. I love Tangipahoa Parish. But, for the last 30 years, God has called me away and prepared me for this next opportunity. And I had no idea at the time. I was just having fun being a cop.
It's the Diamond King. It's the Diamond King Podcast. It's the Diamond King Podcast.